Brandon's always been a super active kid.
I mean, he was racing the track, mountain bikes, crit racing. And he did well in all of it. And not just against the kids, like men who've been racing their whole lives, who raced in Europe. He's like beating them in races at like 14, 15 years old. It was exciting to watch what he was capable of.
Somebody said to him, like, that kid knows how to push himself. He does, he gets a goal and he sticks to it, and absolutely nothing will shut him off. He thought he was probably gonna go to college for it. One of his ultimate goals could be try to go to the Olympics, and he was gonna go to nationals for track, and he was gonna win nationals and then hopefully go on from there. He became a sprinter. And sprinters, what they do is they do a couple laps around, and then at a certain point, the two racers decide to go as hard as possible. And he went down, he crashed. It was probably, I don't know, 38 miles an hour or something crazy. I ran up to him, and he didn't wake up right away. So I knew something was not right. And the ambulance came, we put him on the board, and we took him over to Children's. When he went down, he fell on his right side, broke his collarbone, cracked a rib, hit his head, and got knocked out. And because it knocked himself out, they did a CT scan to make sure everything was okay. So what they found was a large cyst on his brain. They said, "Did you know your son has this large cyst?" We said, "We had no idea." They said, "Well, it's an incidental finding, and this is how we find them. Some kids skateboarding, they fall, and they find this."
And with the original scan, you could see the arachnoid cyst. We see hundreds of arachnoid cysts in a year, and I think of these as kind of like a birthmark on the brain. They're inconsequential. We don't ever need to operate on them except in very rare circumstances. And in Brandon's case, this is that rare circumstance.
I have this arachnoid cyst that is like 30 times the size of what they normally would be. It's about the size of an egg, just in the left hemisphere.
He had actually a rupture of the arachnoid cyst that was not able to be diagnosed on the initial CT scan. And over the subsequent days to a couple of weeks, he developed this fluid collection on the surface of his brain. And this was causing shift of the brain itself. He had a very benign neurosurgical condition that unexpectedly became a brain-threatening condition.
That's when the headache started getting really bad. It was concussion clinic, new types of meds every week, different plans of what they wanted to do with surgery.
His initial surgery was simply to drain the fluid that was causing pressure on his brain, and he did very well from that.
We thought everything was okay, and then the brain bleed came. He developed this horrendous headache, and he called me from work, and I drove home immediately, threw him in the car, and by the time we got back up to Children's, he was vomiting, and I knew something was wrong, very wrong.
I can't remember a worse time in my life. I wasn't sure if I would ever ride a bike again. I don't know if I was gonna leave that room.
We went in for the second surgery, did a minimally invasive approach in order to evacuate the blood clot that was on the surface of his brain and also filling the cavity of the arachnoid cyst. Although the tendency for a condition like this is to place a shunt system that is a permanent device to drain the fluid in that space, you have to provide a type of care that is very precise to that patient. And I think one of the things that we specialize in is a precision medicine-based care. We noticed that Brandon's brain was healing quite well, and we opted to continue watchful waiting because of his activities, and so that he could continue to pursue and reach the higher limits of what he wished to achieve with his life.
Always been in a car family as well. Like if it wasn't the cycling race on, it was a Formula One race or some rally race up in the UP. And when I couldn't ride, I went to work and I saved up. I bought my dream car at 17 and started working on it. This really goes back to the same thing with bikes. It's being able to have like a mechanical connection to something and just the adrenaline rush of hooking a corner as tight as you can or just feeling like it's all about to go wrong and then you just nail it. When I got out of the hospital, obviously the first thing I wanted to do was get back on the bike. So there was definitely some times where I snuck out before I was really supposed to ride a bike, but just couldn't help myself. But I found a new type of racing called cyclocross. It's kind of a mix between mountain biking and road biking. It's a weird hybrid, but it's really starting to catch on lately. And same thing, fell in love with the sport all over again. Bought a new bike, got ready for the race season, and just put my head down and saw what I could do.
Where we are today is completely because of everybody on that floor that helped him.
Dr. Maraputi, she saved his life.
She saved my life multiple times. I can't stress that enough. I can't thank them enough for changing the course of my life.